Good morning and welcome. Today is Tuesday, January 13th, 2026. We are here for our Administrative Matters meeting for the Larimer County Board of County Commissioners. I call this meeting to order. Would you all please stand and join me for the Pledge of the Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all for joining me and joining us for the Pledge of Allegiance. We are now moving on. I'm sorry, let me introduce myself and others. I was so excited about public comment. I am Larimer County Commissioner Jody Shad McNally, Chair of the Board of County Commissioners. I'm joined by and I welcome you to our meeting. I am joined at the dais with my colleagues, Larimer County Commissioner Kristen Stevens and Larimer County Commissioner John Kafalis. And we also join in helping support us for this meeting when we have Deidre O'Neill from the Clerk Recorder's Office for taking notes and minutes. Thank you, Deidre, for being here this morning. We're also joined by our County Manager, Lorenda Volker. We also have from our Commissioner's Office and Public Affairs Office, we have Tom Clayton and Sarah Martin from the Commissioner's Office. Thank you all for the work you do to support us in this meeting. So now with that, we'll move on to public comment. We have a couple of folks who have signed up, so I'll start with them. You will have 3 minutes. You can come up to the podium and start your public comment. Please identify yourself and where you're from, and we will start with Autumn Valenta. Please come up. Thank you for being here.
Hi, I am Autumn Valenta. I'm from Loveland, Ward 4 area. In mid-December, an email to my city council was forwarded to each of you on the subject of connectingcolorado.gov, the website for job matching services. I had sent this email. I see this timer isn't running. I apologize if that's
right. It's fine.
I had sent the email because in contacting county resources about job, there's a whole group of things, job seeker resources, local job leads in the area. It came to my attention that very few of the businesses in our area, local businesses, were connected to these systems. And it has led to the county, by the state's leadership, giving away these sorts of job opening and job seekers, reaching out to contact with them. It has led to them giving away that responsibility to the state so the state could run connectingcolorado.gov. My complaint in general has been that none of the counties seem capable anymore of controlling these systems. I know it's the state kind of starting this initiative. I'm meeting with my SD15 rep right after this. I'm talking to her campaign manager for coffee at 10 a.m. I am doing everything I can to try to get more people aware of this. The trouble is that everywhere else I go, I hear from people that there's nothing they can do. I feel like we've kind of given up our power to this centralized state thing. This state website, connectingcolorado.gov, is an AI product that buys and peddles our data. We pay them to run that service, and we give them our data. They want that data. That is their business model. They want that data so that they can sell it, so that they can profile us. They buy that other data from other companies, and they do it all because they claim they have it by consent. Because they have it by consent, they're allowed to sell it, give it away, build shadow profiles on us, and generally score us on a 0 to 5 point scale, and it is based on nothing but a job history. I'm worried that Connecting Colorado shows no local businesses and only things like Starbucks. There are a few other companies that make the list, like Oracle, who needs no help getting discovery. I worry that our local businesses aren't on these lists, and that this company gets to profile our young people who are forced into working non-career jobs like Starbucks, and then they get point scored by that. Eightfold AI runs this website, and their explicit mission is to eliminate interviewing so that they can score us by points.
Thank you for your public comment. All right, well, now welcome Mr. Paul Gessler up to the podium for your public comment. Thank you for being here.
Good morning. Paul Gessler, Fort Collins. I'm here to speak today as an engaged citizen, a patriot, as one who served this country in the military, as a conscientious objector to the business plan of militarism, and as an advocate for peace, civility, and a defender of the United States Constitution from both foreign and domestic enemies. We, the people, do hereby address the County Commission today to establish a restorative justice court. And I know I've been here before to ask you that. I think the timing is more appropriate now. To establish a restorative justice court to address the dysfunction of government at the national level. This need for commissioning a restorative justice court originates from the need of we the people to have recourse in opposition to the militaristic state being imposed upon we the people. That this restorative justice court be established in real time. It won't require any additional money or courts or lawyers. It can be done right up here on the 5th floor of the administrative building. We hold these truths to be self-evident. Undeclared and illegal wars of aggression have never brought democracy or civility. Actions which have made this nation great were respecting the rights of nations to self-determination and respecting the sovereignty of other nations. The checks and balances of the three branches of government, respecting civil rights, civil liberties, and the pursuit of happiness. Recognizing the tyranny which exists in the body politic today, the abdication of responsibility of the executive and the legislative branches. We have the evidence in our midst of the criminal insanity of the warlords in the Pentagon, in Congress, and at the executive level. How do we establish a restorative justice court? Holding the National Security Act of 1947 into account. It was all based on full spectrum domination, which is being imposed upon us today via nuclear weapon primacy. As retired General George Lee Butler stated, who served in the United States Air Force in the Strategic Air Command at the end of the Cold War, it's a measure of arrogance to assert that nuclear weapons in a free world are impossible. There is no security in nuclear weapons. It's a fool's errand. And here we are. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gessler, for your public comment. Sarah, first let me offer anyone else in the room. There's not too many other folks, but maybe still offer anyone else in the room would like to make public comment. Okay, let's go online. Sarah, is there anyone online who would like to make public comment?
No, Commissioner.
Thank you, Sarah. All right, so we'll close public comment, but I'll we'll have our colleagues see if they'd like to respond to the folks who have given public comment today. I'll start with Commissioner Stevens.
Yeah, and I can't remember the woman who spoke.
Autumn Valentine.
Autumn. Okay, Autumn. Thank you for, letting us know about that system. I've actually heard from others that it is hard to find local jobs on connectingcolorado.com. So that's not the first time that I've heard that. It is interesting with centralization. I think that it is a bit of the norm at this point just because of funding issues with the state. But certainly we'll pose that to some of our state representatives that we have in the county and see if they have any solutions. And I'm glad you're reaching out to your representative or somebody who's running for representative in your area, because I do have some concerns about the services with workforce services should be localized and I know that the people up on is it the fifth floor will help and individualize that program, but if you're just looking on the website, I don't think it's as effective. And maybe we can look in and see if there's some legislation that would sort of help with that. So I'm certainly willing to look into that, and thank you for alerting us to that. And I remember your email from a couple months ago, I believe. And so, let's see what we can do in that space. But certainly, thank you for sharing that. And then, Paul, just really appreciate you being an advocate for peace. I don't know that we will be forming a restorative justice court, but I certainly. Am doing all I can in my position to be able to promote peace and make sure that the federal government's held accountable. We've had some issues with the federal government around funding. Um, you know, in my opinion, a lot of the funding that's been taken away is to punish people who are living in poverty and the Black and brown people in our community. So I don't love that tendency, and I think that that's also a form of war against people in our country. This is stuff that I would like to continue working on as we. But certainly, share your thoughts around nuclear weapons and peace in our country. It's very important. And as we see the militarism that seems to be building up, it is a disturbing trend. And so any way we can work on opposing that, I think, is really important. So thank you for being here, and thanks for your advocacy.
Thank you, Commissioner Stevens. Commissioner Gonzalez, would you like to add?
I'll say a couple of things. Well, first of all, I appreciate both of you being here. I'm interested to know the outcome of your meeting with the Senate District 15, Senator Marchman, so that it would be interesting to see what you all determine is a path forward. And then regarding some of the other things, it wasn't quite clear, for me at least, in terms of your message. But I will follow up with our workforce or economic and workforce development director, Mark, to better understand about this website. I do know that some time ago, last year in the fall, there was a workshop that was part of an all-day event that was offered upstairs on the fifth floor that had to do with workshop participants learning better ways to navigate this world of job seeking and AI and the interface of all that. So there was an effort, for what it's worth, to inform job seekers of how to navigate that world and how to, make best use of it. But I can follow up with economic and workforce. I'd be curious to better understand what what you were saying this morning in terms of websites and the state website, and what the outcome of your meeting with Senator Marchman. And Paul, like Commissioner Stevens said, I appreciate you a lot. We've known each other for many years. I share your concerns about what is occurring at the federal level on many fronts. I still don't quite understand the intersection of the 1947 National Security Act and how that would give a county jurisdiction to somehow engage some of these players at the federal level who may be violating laws, in terms of a restorative justice approach rather than just prosecuting some. I'd be good to understand how you see us fitting into this. But at this point, as we've discussed in the past, I don't think that's within our realm, but that's another conversation. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Commissioner Gonzalez. I want to thank both Autumn and Paul for coming today. Paul, I really appreciate you and your advocacy and bringing that voice, and we all feel like we need to speak up for peace and find ways to change the trajectory of what's happening right now, especially the last couple of weeks. And I appreciate you coming and sharing all this information, and I'm grateful for your advocacy and your continued voice in this matter, and I echo my colleagues' comments. I appreciate you coming today. I was at the town hall where you spoke about this again, and I know that we had sent an email back to you on December 16th. I wanted to be really clear that the county has not advocated its role in helping folks. We still really work with local businesses and trying to do relationship building, and we do have lots of in-person services to help folks and job seekers. As you know, this is a transition from a 20-year-old system to this new system, which has obviously not been seamless, and there is some things that are maybe problematic. So I appreciate you bringing up your concerns. I think that's important, especially from folks who are trying to find jobs and bring your experience and your perspective. That's really valuable, and I appreciate you sharing that. I know local businesses are not required to use Connecting Colorado. I wanted to make sure that you knew that. And they also really want to encourage them to connect and engage with our workforce development department, which is also partnering with the Weld County one. And it's called NOCO Ready. And I have sent that information to Senator Marchman so she can understand kind of what is happening. That's a very regional award-winning kind of workforce development group trying to help the region, and it's NOCO Ready, REDI, and I wanted to make sure that you were aware of that. And so we really feel that workforce development, especially with AI, they really focus and continue to focus on helping directly with employees through a relationship-based outreach, which we really think is important in this day. And I do echo and understand your concerns with AI. Since Commissioner Stevens and I went to Washington, D.C. in 2022, and the alarm was kind of already happening with some of the senators talking to us then about AI. I think we're one of the first counties to have an AI policy, and certainly we are watching very closely a lot of things that are happening right now. So appreciate you all being here today. And with that, we will now move on to the approval of the minutes. And I will ask Commissioner Stevens to make that motion, please. Unless there's any items that my colleagues wanted to change in the minutes.
No,
Okay, would you please make that motion, Commissioner?
I will, Madam Chair. I move to approve the minutes for the week of January 5th, 2026.
Thank you for that motion. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. 3-0, thank you. Let's move on to our schedule. I will ask Sarah Martin to discuss our schedule for the week of January 19th through the 24th. Thank you.
This is the Commissioner's schedule for January 19th through the 24th, 2026. On Monday, January 19th, the county offices will be closed in observance of Martin Luther King Jr. Day. From 10 a.m. to 10:40 a.m., the Commissioners will participate in the Colorado State University Martin Luther King Jr. Day Proclamation reading at the Laurie Student Center at 1101 Center Avenue Mall in Fort Collins. From 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., the Commissioners will participate in the Poudre River Library District Martin Luther King Day Junior Literacy Room event at the Laurie Student Center at 1101 Center Avenue Mall in Fort Collins. On Tuesday, January 20th, from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., there will be an Administrative Matters meeting in the hearing room on the first floor. From 12 p.m. to 1:30 p.m., Commissioner Kafalas will attend the Community Corrections Advisory Board meeting at 2307 Midpoint Drive in Fort Collins. From 12:45 to 1:45, Commissioners may participate in the virtual Urban Renewal Authorities and Tax Increment Financing Stakeholder meeting. From 1:30 p.m. to 3 p.m., there will be administrative direction to county management in the Sprague Lake Conference Room on the second floor. On Wednesday, January 21st, from 7:45 a.m. to 9 a.m., Commissioner Kafalas will attend the Poudre School District's City of Fort Collins and Larimer County Liaison meeting at City Hall at 300 LaPorte Avenue in Fort Collins. From 8:30 a.m. to 9:30 a.m., Commissioners may participate in the virtual Counties and Commissioners Acting Together Governing Board meeting. From 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., Commissioner Shattuck McNally may attend the Big Thompson Watershed Health Partnership meeting in the Boyd Lake Conference Room on the first floor. From 11 a.m. to 12 p.m., Commissioner Shattuck McNally may attend the Avenues Recovery Center Fort Collins Open House and Ribbon Cutting event at 4880 Ziegler Road, Fort Collins. From 12:15 p.m. to 1:30 p.m., Commissioner Shattuck McNally may participate in the virtual Colorado Communities for Climate Action Legislative Committee meeting. From 1:30 p.m. to 2:30 p.m., there will be a work session regarding State Forest Service pine beetle outbreak update in the Commissioners' Conference Room on the second floor. From 4 p.m. to 5 p.m., Commissioners Kafalas and Shattuck McNally may attend the Veterans Together meeting. Location will be announced prior to the meeting. From 5:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m., Commissioner Shattuck McNally will host an Estes Park Wildfire Town Hall and film screening of Fire Lives Here. Guests include Gary Hall, Estes Park Mayor, Michael Conway, Colorado Insurance Commissioner, and Matt McCombs, Colorado State Forester. This will take place at Estes Valley Community Center at 660 Community Drive in Estes Park. On Thursday, January 22nd from 12 p.m. to 1:30 p.m., Commissioner Kafalas will host a community conversation for the Red Feather Lakes community. Guests will be Research Associate Lucy McGeehee with Root Policy Research, who will discuss rural housing needs and assessment. This will take place at 58 Firehouse Lane in Red Feather Lakes. From 2 p.m. to 3 p.m., Commissioner Stevens may participate in the virtual US 287 Coalition meeting. From 2 p.m. to 3:30 p.m., Commissioner Shattuck McNally may attend the Regional Opioid Abatement Council meeting. It's a hybrid meeting. In person, it will be at 2260 West Trilby Road in Fort Collins or virtually via Zoom. From 3 p.m. to 4:30 p.m., Commissioner Stevens may participate in the virtual Non-Attainment Area Air Pollution Mitigation Enterprise Board meeting. From 5 p.m. to 7 p.m., Commissioner Stevens may attend the Fort Collins Urban Renewal Authority Board meeting. It's a hybrid meeting. In person, it will be at City Hall at 300 LaPorte Avenue in Fort Collins or virtually via Zoom. From 5 p.m. to 8 p.m., Commissioners Kafalas and Shattuck McNally may attend the Open Lands and Parks Advisory Boards meeting at 2260 West Trilby Road in Fort Collins. From 6 p.m. to 10 p.m., Commissioner Shattuck McNally will attend the Loveland Urban Renewal Authority Board special meeting at the Loveland City Council Chambers at 500 East 3rd Street in Loveland. On Friday, January 23rd from 8:30 a.m. to 9:30 a.m., Commissioner Shattuck McNally may participate in the virtual State Forest Health Council Legislative Committee meeting. From 8:30 a.m. to 10 a.m., Commissioner Shattuck McNally may participate in the virtual Youth Mental Health Task Force meeting. From 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., Commissioner Stevens may participate in the virtual Middle Income Housing Authority Board meeting. From 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m., Commissioner Stevens may participate in the virtual Colorado Counties, Inc. stakeholder meeting. From 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., Commissioner Stevens may attend the Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments Pikes Peak Rural Transportation Authority discussion at 15 South 7th Street in Colorado Springs. From 11:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m., Commissioners may participate in the virtual Counties and Commissioners Acting Together policy meeting. And on Saturday, January 24th, from 1:30 p.m. to 3 p.m., Commissioners Kafalas and Shattuck McNally may attend the Nueva Vida Infrastructure Improvement ribbon cutting ceremony at the Nueva Vida Mobile Home Park at 411 South Court Street in Fort Collins.
Thank you, Sarah. Colleagues, any additions, Commissioner Kafalas?
Yes, thank you. Just two things to mention. One is I think you mentioned this, Sarah, it's on our draft. On Martin Luther King Day, the story time reading, I don't think we're doing that during the Martin Luther King event. We will be participating in other activities, but will not be doing the story time as originally planned. So we probably need to update that a bit. And then the only other thing is regarding the Wednesday, January 21, visiting the Avenues Recovery Center open house. I'm also planning to attend that. I believe I RSVP'd. Thank you.
I believe that's on my schedule that you're there. Is it not in the written one? I know it's on the calendar, so, okay. Okay, so Commissioner Stevens.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A couple things. The literacy room event got cancel for all of us. So on Martin Luther King Day, I may attend the Wednesday, January 21st on the Avenues Recovery Center. It's kind of sandwiched for me between a couple meetings, so it's still a maybe, but probably put it on the calendar for that. On January 22nd, the Non-Attainment Area Air Pollution Mitigation Enterprise Board meeting has been canceled for lack of agenda items. On Friday, January 23rd, I won't be attending Middle Income Housing Authority Board or the Colorado Counties, Inc., or the Commissioners, Counties and Commissioners Acting Together meetings, because that meeting in Colorado Springs, there'll be a couple hours of driving on either end of that, and so I'm going to miss all that. And I'm driving in a car with others, so I can't take a meeting. So I'll just be attending that Pikes Peak Area of Council of Governments Rural Transportation Authority discussion. And then on Saturday, January 24th, I've scheduled a community conversation at the Harmony Library on Harmony, and that'll be from 9:30 to 10:30. And that is it for me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. I'm going to work backwards, Sarah. And I have on Friday the 23rd, I will try to participate in the Colorado Counties Inc. stakeholder meeting. So I wanted to share that. And the CCAP policy meeting at 11:30 to 1:30. Since I'm still going to be, looks like I'll still be the chair, but also as I am the current chair of the Natural Resources meeting, I will be chairing that Natural Resources meeting. So I wanted to make sure that is added. And yes, thanks for putting the Youth Mental Health Task Force virtual, because I'm going to join that as soon as I'm done with the Forest Health Council meeting. And then let's see, what was the thing on? Okay, I think that is, oh, I wanted to add on the other special guest for the town hall is state entomologist Dr. Dan West, W-E-S-T. And so he will also be joining us. There is no virtual, there is a registration and it's on, and so I just want to make sure, I don't know if we can put that on a link to the registration and the QR code, so we we're trying to record the whole thing and then be able to send it to people who maybe couldn't make it, so that might be important to attach that. So I think that's all I had. Thank you, Sarah. Okay, we'll move on now to the consent agenda. I'm going to read you the items, but first let me just share the consent agenda consists of items of no perceived controversy and routine administrative actions such as abatements, agreements, deeds, final plans, liquor license, resolutions, and other matters previously reviewed by the Board of County Commissioners, and the staff recommends approval of the consent agenda. As we know, the Commissioner can remove an item to be pulled off the agenda and considered separately, and that would and we could take action on that, but I'm going to read through the items of the consent agenda and then see if my colleagues have any items they wish to have pulled. Today for our Tuesday, January 13th, 2026 consent agenda, we have 4 appointments. We have a recommended midterm appointments to the Community Advisory Board of Mr. Holland and Mr. Riaz. We also have a recommended midterm appointment to the Community Advisory Board of Ms. Kobnick. We also have recommended midterm appointment to Riviera Estates Public Improvement District of Mr. Gustafson. And fourth, we have a recommended reappointment to the Charles Heights Public Improvement District of Mr. Morton. We have a letter of support. This is a letter of support for the National Park Service land acquisition, a letter of support for Rocky Mountain National Park to acquire land from a willing seller. And the town of Estes Park is also joining us in supporting this request. More information can be found online with any of these items on our website of the Board of County Commissioners. We have 4 liquor licenses. One is a liquor license renewal for JJ's Liquor, which is located in Fort Collins. A liquor license renewal of HGC Ptarmigan LLC, which is in Fort Collins, Colorado. And we also have a special event liquor license 6% for the Polar Bear Run and Plunge in Fort Green Events Incorporated in Fort Collins. And then fourthly, we have a liquor license renewal for River Song Incorporated for the River Song in Retreat in Estes Park. We have 4 miscellaneous items. The first is edits to the 2026 legislative agenda, and you can go online to look at those. There's a few amendments and changes to that agenda, and you can find those online on our legislative page, but also on a Board of County Commissioners page. We also have a 2026 Colorado Counties Incorporated proxy designation. And then we have the third, we have Larimer County Nedra Acres Public Improvement District number 77 Advisory Board bylaws on this agenda. And fourthly, we have the Larimer County Thunder Mountain Public Improvement District number 76 Advisory Board bylaws submitted by engineering. We have one resolution, an updated resolution to approve a fee schedule for the community justice alternatives relating to the release of criminal justice records and health information protected under HIPAA and substance abuse regulations. So with that, colleagues, is there any items you wish to have pulled from the agenda? All right, then I will ask, thank you, Commissioner Kafalis, to make that motion, please.
Yes, I move to approve the consent agenda for January 13th, 2025.
Thank you, sir. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Anybody have commissioners' guests today? I don't see anybody. All right. And now we have one discussion item today. I will be introducing this item. We have the proclamation of the Martin Luther King Jr. Day, which is submitted by our Assistant County Manager, but I will be presenting it today. As we all know, this is a big day in our nation's history, and it's on January 19th is Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Observation and Commemoration Day in the city of Fort Collins and across Larimer County. And we call on members of this community to reflect on the values and accomplishments of Dr. King and strive to actualize Dr. King's dream, where we choose democracy over autocracy and create a beloved community where service and belonging prevail. I know there are several opportunities to participate in several activities. I think the City of Fort Collins has some activities on their website, as we had just stated, as the county commissioners are participating on January 19th for the proclamation reading, and also there's several activities in the grand ballrooms of the Laurie Student Center for a short program that starts at 10 a.m. and you can go onto, I think, the CSU website and the City of Fort Collins website for more details on all the variety of opportunities to participate. There is several items and opportunities, and a couple opportunities in Estes Park and also in Loveland to volunteer to gather clothing at some that's listed on the website, but also on January 15th, this coming week, there is a program in collaboration with Heart and Soul of Loveland and the Thompson School District, and that is at Mountain View High School, as it traditionally is, and that program starts at 6 p.m. And there's lots of great musical and dance performances that are always riveting and very exciting. So with that, I will see if my colleagues, I'll have Commissioner Stevens read the proclamation, and then we can make some comments. I will ask please, Commissioner Stevens, if you would read the proclamation.
Yes, Madam Chair. This is a proclamation of Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Whereas the legacy of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. calls us into an inescapable network of mutuality and to find shared values across our varied experiences and to build unity from our extraordinary diversity, reflected in our country's motto, E pluribus unum, out of many, one. Reverend Dr. King lifted this ideal and urged the nation towards equitable reconciliation, reminding us that lasting progress depends on building a beloved community and strengthening our collective responsibility to one another. And whereas from December 1955 until April 4th, 1968, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. used the power of words and principled actions, including protests, grassroots community organizing, and civil disobedience, to lead our nation in a quest for civil rights and to confront what he identified as racism, war, and poverty. He believed that even under the most difficult conditions, Hope could be found through intentional education, shared purpose, and united action. And whereas Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. mobilized impacted communities and their allies across the world to challenge segregation, hate-driven violence, and discrimination in housing, employment, and education. Despite sustained opposition, he remained committed to building a society rooted in mutual respect, collective humanity, and cooperation, where communities are strengthened through solidarity and understanding. And whereas today people of all backgrounds continue this work, raising their voices to confront hate and discrimination, protect the right to vote, and expand access to quality health care, housing, and education. Despite sustained opposition, lost my place for a second. In doing so, we affirm Dr. King's recognition of our shared fate and collective progress, and the importance of uniting Fort Collins and Larimer County through care for one another. And whereas Dr. King's life was tragically cut short by his assassination on April 4th, 1968, yet his message remains urgent as we continue to confront persistent challenges. More than 50 years later, institutional and systemic racism continues to affect Black and African American communities and communities of many ethnicities and faiths, reminding us of the ongoing work required to build stronger, more connected communities. And whereas this year marks what would have been Dr. King's 97th birthday and the 40th King holiday observance by the Martin Luther King Jr. Center for Nonviolent Social Change, this year's theme, Mission Possible 2, Building Community, Uniting Fort Collins, affirms that meaningful change is possible when communities come together, see one another as neighbors, and commit to shared responsibility. Now therefore be it resolved that the Larimer County Board of County Commissioners do hereby proclaim January 19th, 2026 as Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Observation and Commemoration Day in the city of Fort Collins and throughout Larimer County. In recognition of this day, we call upon all residents to reflect on Dr. King's legacy and to recommit ourselves to each other through service, belonging, and a shared vision for a stronger future of building community, uniting Fort Collins.
Thank you, Commissioner. Would you go ahead and make the motion as well, please?
Yes, Madam Chair. I move to approve the proclamation declaring January 19th, 2026 as Martin Luther King Jr. Day.
Thank you. I'll have Commissioner Foss. Would you like to make any comments, sir?
Just a couple of words to share. I think the proclamation speaks for itself. I'm very grateful that we can celebrate the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I think there are many. He believed in many things and he stood for many things. I think ultimately the power of nonviolence, social change, I think was one of the most important things. And the idea of the beloved community, I don't believe we're quite there yet. And I think in these current times, the ability to love one another, the ability to do our best to practice the golden rule, which, near as I can tell, says we ought to treat each other the way we would expect to be treated. I think that's really important these days. So I'm glad we're celebrating on Monday. It'll be a wonderful day of celebration. Wanting to suggest that we should try to do this every day. Being honest with each other, listening to each other, trying to minimize some of the polarization and the what's occurring in our country these days. This is not, for many of us, this is not the America that we have come to love, despite some of our shortcomings. And so the message of Dr. Martin Luther King and the ability to celebrate his birthday, which actually, by the way, is January 15th, but we celebrate on the 19th. I'm very grateful that we are continuing to persevere. I guess that's more than a few words. I apologize.
No need to apologize, sir. This was your time to share your thoughts, and I appreciate you sharing them. Commissioner Stevens?
Yeah, as Commissioner Kafalas talked about, we do have a decent amount of division in our country right now. And I think getting back to what this proclamation talks about is seeing each other as neighbors is really important for us to remember on this day, and as Commissioner Kafalas said, on every day, honestly. I know our strategic plan talks about encouraging a vibrant community, belonging, making sure that people have the same economic opportunities as others do. And I think all that speaks to Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy. In last year, I read a biography about Martin Luther King Jr., and one of the things that really struck me about his legacy is that he was constantly filled with self-doubt. Was he doing enough? Was he doing the right thing? And that he understood that he was an imperfect man trying to create a perfect world. And I think that the book was so humanizing in the way that, we all have that ability we might not have his gift of rhetoric or his ability to speak as well or inspire others, but we can all do our part in this space. And even if you are filled with self-doubt, self-doubt honestly actually is humility in another space, but you can continue to do the work even if you're not doing it perfectly. And so I think that that's a great lesson for all of us to learn, is that you keep getting up to do the work because it's important. And right now we have a lot of people, as we talked about earlier, people living in poverty in our community, people that are not treated as well as others, some people actually living in fear. And so this day has special meaning for how we wrest back our country and our humanity. So I hope that we all can reflect on that, and maybe I know I can do a better job and inspire others to do better as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This morning I woke up to a text from some other commissioners across the state of Colorado with beautiful pictures of sunrises in their counties. And it was just a message of hope, and that nature still abides, and we can choose the pathway towards the light or continue to work in darkness. And I really appreciate that, because I always was made me think of the Martin Luther King quote about darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that. And every day is a new day to start to do better, because light appears on the horizon. And I really appreciated that to start my day off today. I think as we see a lot of things happening in our nation and in our communities the last couple of weeks since the beginning of the new year, it's certainly not a pathway we hope to take as a society or a community. And my heart breaks for all the tragedy and loss and folks that feel in fear and also have lost loved ones. I really think about another quote that Dr. King had, is about we cannot walk alone, and as we walk, we must make that pledge that we shall always march ahead, and we cannot turn back. And that's what I was thinking the last 2 weeks. We just cannot go back. We have to keep going forward, and what we see happening is very troubling, and we have to still keep working and going forward, and still go towards that time of making a beloved community where people feel they are connected and belong, and that we need to every day, there's always the right time to do the right thing. And sometimes it's hard to do the right thing, but it's always the right time to do what is right. And I just really appreciate that as a board, we participate in a day on and not a day off, and we try to do some service activities. And I want to thank all the organizations and volunteers and individuals and groups that are participating in lots of events. It takes time and effort to organize these events and get the word out and to participate, and also to include the youth that we're doing it at CSU campus in Loveland, involving the Thompson School District youth. I think that's really important. I think they need to see all of us leading and showing up and sharing messages of hope, and that we're imperfect, but we can still we're better together. And so I'm looking forward to the next few days. And I appreciate colleagues that we are doing all these activities. I know we don't have anybody receiving these today, but we have 3 copies. And I was going to give each of us a copy that maybe we can give this to each one, have someone we'd like to give it to in the community. And so I'll each give you one of these, and we can go out and maybe give it to someone we want to thank for their continued work in the community to honor Dr. King's legacy. So with that, we have a motion on the table. Lorenda, would you like to say anything today?
I guess I'll just say, you all live the principle that positive change happens close to home. And that's what we can control. We can control ourselves. And I appreciate the time that you all spend thinking about this kind of thing, making our services available to everyone, making sure everyone is lifted up by what we do and how we do it. So thank you to all of you, and thank you to the staff that work really hard to make that happen. I think that's a value and a principle of this organization. So it's good to honor that today, especially.
Thank you, Lorenda. Thanks for that reminder, too. Appreciate your comments. I want to thank the Community Advisory Board also helped, and then also our staff in partnership with City of Fort Collins as we're doing this proclamation and reading it together, and it's in partnership with those activities. I want to thank those folks who are involved with that, and our Assistant County Manager, Lori Cadrich, is kind of stewarding that through and making sure it happens. So I want to make sure she gets a shout out for her work. And thank you, Lorenda, also because you're a big part of this as well, helping us continue to steward this through this to this kind of opportunity where we can have these proclamations, and they're meaningful. They're not just a check the box thing. So with that, colleagues, all those in favor of approval of the proclamation?
Aye.
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 Okay. Thank you all for that and your comments. And now we'll move on to the county manager update.
Thank you. I did a lot of external coordination, it seems, last week. And so I met with Estes Park Town Manager Travis Michalik, the Bertha Town Manager Chris Kirk, and then the Fort Collins Downtown Development Authority Executive Director Matt Robinall. It's good to keep in touch with those folks and just to make sure they know what we're up to and we know what they're doing. More excitingly than those typical meetings, we were asked to participate in Leadership Fort Collins through the Fort Collins Chamber of Commerce. They've added a segment where you learn what county government does in terms of our community. And so our service area directors, coordinated by Michelle Berg, our public affairs director, were able to kind of do a round robin and talk about the various service areas and how the county provides that foundational service to the community, that safety net, oftentimes not seen and not thought about. So we had some really good questions. It was great to remind people that while you live in the city of Fort Collins, you might also live in the county of Larimer and the state of Colorado. And so when we think of government as layers that support one another, those are always important conversations. And then I was asked to speak to a group of upcoming women leaders through the organization we work with for leadership training called Crafted Leadership. And I am very impressed by the leadership group that's upcoming in our community. There were some outstanding women who are at mid-level in their careers and are looking for a network to share that with and some leadership opportunities. And so it's good to see those kind of things happening in the community. It makes you feel really positive for the future. I'm sure it's happening in a lot of other ways. This is the one that I got to see firsthand. And so it created a lot of hope and expectation for the next generation and the next decade. Thank you.
Thank you, Lorenda. Thanks for your continued work and connection in the community. I know a lot of folks in the community that aren't electeds, but our business and nonprofit leaders speak so highly of you and how you represent such impeccable leadership. And I want to just share those comments again because it's so wonderful to hear of how people hold you in such high regard and how well you represent and kind of when you go and do that. So does anyone have any comments or questions from Lorenda? Okay, we'll move on to Commissioner activity reports. We'll start with Commissioner Kafalis.
Yes, I'll share 3 things from last week. One is that I attended the Extension Advisory Committee on Wednesday, January 7th. I was reminded what a fun and lively group that is. A lot of good updates, but a little bit I'll share is And I have this if anyone would like me to send it to them, this presentation from Maggie, who oversees the farmers market. But overall, last year was a pretty extraordinary year in terms of gross sales, 2025 gross sales. The dollar amount was $1,973,421. And this was an increase of over 8% from the previous year. And the weekly average increase of there was a weekly average increase of $6,330 as compared to 2024. Record opening day, $83,000 in gross sales. Record closing day, $84,000 in closing sales. And the other thing I'll mention is that we do a lot to try to help folks who are experiencing some degree of food insecurity, and especially these days, the need is great. But it's pretty amazing. These are, I won't go through all of them, but these are food access statistics having to do with the SNAP program, Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, Double Up Food Bucks, market days, voucher programs, etc. But the total food access, the dollar amount was about almost $95,000. And food access and farmer total, and the farmers, who provide that fresh produce, they had sales of almost $73,000. So the farmers market was great. They continue to keep going forward, and this is a really nice presentation with more details. I'm happy to share that with folks. So that was the Extension Advisory Committee. On Friday, I attended the State Board of Human Services meeting. The most important takeaway was a very detailed update on what is happening with regard to federal actions as they pertain to federal block grant funding that impacts the Colorado Child Care Assistance Program, the what's called the Social Services Block Grant that helps fund everything from child welfare to adult protective services to a variety of other things, and certainly the impacts on the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. Oh, and to add to the list, Colorado Works of the Temporary Assistance to Needy Families. So there's a lot going on. We'll get more updates today, but the state is doing its best to work with the counties to navigate once again, a very uncertain time. And then finally, I'll mention that we had our LaPorte community conversation. It was amazing. It was the first one of the new year, and there were over 15 people. The Me on My Coffee was quite packed and quite noisy, but we had a good meeting. At times, a bit challenging based on some of the interaction, but very spirited, and it was great. There were some new people, and actually, everyone had specific things that why they were there and issues that they wanted to raise. And one of those issues I'll need to follow up with our esteemed Department of Natural Resources folks that are here for our executive session. So those three things. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Stevens.
Yeah, I'll be brief because I in the past week I've had about 8 transportation meetings, and surprise, surprise, the topic on almost every agenda was funding challenges, and so we will continue to kind of work through that. The one good thing is that our Region 4 transportation 10-year plan will be brought forward to the Transportation Commission this month, and then we'll see it at the statewide advisory committee next month. But no projects have fallen off of that list, so that is good. There's still a commitment from CDOT and regional transportation authorities to really try to make these projects move forward. And as we heard yesterday, the project on 287 for safety projects is moving forward. So we will continue to lobby for dollars in the space. We know there's a limited amount of dollars and that these projects are very, very expensive. There are also, obviously, as Commissioner Cavallo said, other needs in our communities, including human services funding. So it is a delicate balance that we'll have to find in those spaces. Want to just say that with regard to federal funding for transportation, the Surface Transportation Reauthorization Bill should be coming up in March. We're not sure yet land with funding. It sounds like the funding will be very traditional funding, road and bridge focused, and not necessarily multimodal and transit focused, which is not surprising. But at this point, any dollars that we can get in this space are important, and so we'll just keep our eyes out and make sure that we kind of try to keep that funding secured. But that goes to the fact that, in a couple of weeks, I'll be going down to Colorado Springs to see different models of how to fund transportation, since we're, kind of looking at what might work best and how to get these big projects done. So that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Stevens. I will share a few things. First week back was actually pretty busy. I did have a meeting with the Estes Park Health, now UC Health, Estes Park Hospital, and I met with some of the staff up there to talk about my trip to DC for the rural health care and some of the SRS. I'm trying to explain some of those items and kind of connect them to maybe suggestions or some grants and that maybe they hadn't thought of before. And so that was a really productive meeting. I've been meeting as much as I can with Director McCombs, the State Forest Service, to just keep discussing wildfire mitigation and the beetle outbreak and the continued work there. It's something I know I look forward to my colleagues in our presentation next week as they come. Last week was also 2 days of my committee meetings and big meeting for I was appointed to the State Emergency Medical and Trauma Services Advisory Council. No surprise, I got put on the Public Policy and Finance Committee meeting, and you'll hear a common theme. Lots of things that this committee and some of the groups under laws of good ideas to help support, especially rural EMS. There's not enough, some funding has been clawed back, so there's not enough funding to continue the current level of services. And we had a lot of discussion on that. Because the budget is not looking great the next few years for those programs. And so that meeting that decision got delayed, and it will be going forward. We'll have another special meeting because it is a sensitive subject. One of them impacts, especially for rural EMS, the ability to have sessions for trauma-informed behavioral health and mental health supports for secondary trauma from our first responders, and especially the rural areas. And so pretty lively discussions. So I just wanted to share about that. We have the Regional Opioid Abatement Council learning forums, which is still really good to have us having folks in there learning about their changing, how the grants are due and when they're due and how it's going forward. Really, as the state's refining their processes, so is the regional, regional to our region's processes. And I had shared with my colleagues the information, and all of you, our annual report from the Regional Abatement Council, and also how Larimer County and Colorado have been called out nationally, especially through the John Hopkins work and that website, and leading, getting money out 100% and highlighting in Larimer County, especially how we've given some money to the school districts for preventative care, and that's been a great thing to learn, because we work really hard trying to make sure this abatement money is used for good and for prevention, and also making amends or helping those who have opiate addictions and the families or students that are impacted by that. So I just wanted to kind of highlight that again. I wanted to just again give a shout out to Andrea Mead. I attended her retirement celebration, which is a filled room. It just blows me away to think of someone so dedicated to human services, families, and children for 42 years here at the Larimer County. And there was discussion of all the different buildings. I had forgotten about the Jefferson site building, and some of the work in the pictures and the people that she has made an impression and touched, including Sheriff John Fan. It was really impactful, and I just wanted to thank her. I spoke just because I remember almost every time she's come to us in front of us for a proclamation for children and human services and the important things that she puts in front of us. And she always brings such impactful stories and makes such an impression. And always, I told her, she always twists my heart into knots when she does that. But I think we're going to to really miss her. And I was glad to hear that she's not completely going away. She's going to still try to help mentor and help human services and social work students and stuff. So I'm really grateful for that. And I just want to wish her a wonderful retirement. It's well deserved. And thank her for her 4 decades plus service to Larimer County and to our residents. It's impactful work. She's created quite a legacy. And then on, of course, I had the SEMTAC again meetings as we had our big huge meeting to vote on this, and I said a lot of decisions have been moved forward. I did have the Office on Aging meeting, though it's now more of a stakeholdering group. They're still asking me to come and speak, and I shared a little bit of the pine beetle and some other items, and I think that was well received. And then on Friday, we still had our Forest Legislative Committee meeting. We're still wrestling with what kind of policy changes and legislative recommendations we can make for 2027, because our 2026 recommendations have already been submitted, and a couple of those will be introduced as legislation here soon. But when the idea that none of the work can have a price tag attached, it makes it very daunting of how we can make any recommendations, because as we discussed yesterday in our work session, all this work takes money and workforce, and it's just a little daunting sometimes. I did attend on Friday the Colorado Counties Incorporated and State Forest Service briefing on the mountain pine beetle. It was a fantastic presentation by Dr. West and Director Matt McCombs and Allison Lurch, the Deputy Director from DNR. I thought it was really impactful, and I thought it was great questions from our colleagues around the state, other commissioners. And then I attended the other stakeholder meeting on the Outdoors Opportunity Act with DNR, and again, some great questions from them colleagues. I wanted to highlight, I did attend some town halls from State Senator Janice Marchman, and also the City Council of Loveland had a town hall, and I attended in the back to listen to constituents' concerns. And also I had the opportunity to speak to a very large group of middle school to high school youth and a few of their parents, and they wanted to understand what counties do. And I asked the question, do you know what a county commissioner is? And not surprising, no one raised their hand. So I spent a little bit of time explaining what a county commissioner is and does, and what the county does and how it impacts their daily life. And their big question is, why do we have laws, and why are so many laws, and what does it do? And I kind of explain how really, think of them as protections. We don't want someone not having a speed limit, just racing down the street. They might hurt somebody. And really it talked about, their voices and understanding how local government impacts them and their school districts and their parents, and how the laws that we have, it's really about us coming together as governments coming together for us to have protections and what we do together to take care of each other. And that was well received. And it's just, I really appreciated them inviting me. It was really a refreshing group. I hadn't gotten to speak to a lot of those folks. I knew some of them, and I wanted to just share that because I thought it was kind of gave me a little bit of a exciting thing to share. And that's all I had to share. So with that, I appreciate everyone's reports and the work that you do. And we are now going to move into executive session. And so we'll adjourn our regular administrative matters meeting as we go into executive session. No decision is expected, so we won't be returning online. And I will ask Commissioner Cafals to make that motion, please.
Yes, thank you. I move the Board of County Commissioners move into executive session pursuant to Colorado Revised Statutes 24-6-4024A, purchase, acquisition, lease, transfer, or sale of any real or personal property.
Thank you for that motion. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
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 Okay, we're going into executive session. Thank you all for joining us today. We appreciate your engagement. Have a wonderful day. We are adjourned for the going into executive session. Thank you.